because I tweeted about it, and I still see people in all the comments. They don't understand what I'm trying to say. Let me make this clear. As a Bama fan, I am thrilled about this. I am happy that Alabama is now a dang near law to make the college football playoff. And I'm one of those who believes even if they lose by $4 billion to Georgia, they're still getting in. With that being said, I also understand the argument that every single one of you that thinks. I get that. Alabama has I'm talking about a much better resume than Notre Dame. I've been saying that since day one. I get it. Because there's so many people on Twitter trying to explain to me, like I don't know, and I don't take it as disrespect, it's just people, I guess, trying to inform me. Well, Matt, here's why Alabama's ahead of Notre Dame, because their strength of record, dude. I know that. Here's what I don't understand. Alabama's resume didn't really get too much better after one game against a terrible team in the SEC. On the flip side of it, it's not like Notre Dame's resume got any worse. They just won by 30 or 40 against Stanford. Let me dumb this down even more. I don't understand how you can tell me, heading into this most recent weekend, that Notre Dame is better than Alabama. That's what the committee's saying by having them at 9 and having Bama at 10. Notre Dame's better. They passed the eye test, resume, whatever you want to throw in there. You then watch Alabama struggle with Auburn and Notre Dame take care of business and go, nah, you know what? We're going to jump Alabama ahead of Notre Dame. That just doesn't make any sense to me. Not at all. And there's no way it can make any sense to you guys. No way. You can't even try to tell me, well, Matt, it's a resume thing. No, dude. They had Bama behind Notre Dame last week. And Alabama's resume from last week to this week didn't get any better. But hold on, if you didn't think it was bad enough, it gets worse. Hunter Yurchek was asked why they bumped Alabama ahead of Notre Dame, and here's what he said. This is paraphrasing, by the way, but it was identical to this. Alabama's great and gutsy fourth down call to take the lead against 5-7 Auburn is what gave them the edge over Notre Dame. He didn't even bring up Alabama's running game. He said because Alabama converted a 4th and 2 late in the fourth quarter and they forced a fumble at the end of the game, that was enough to change the mind of some of the committee members. I'm throwing this disclaimer in there again. I am a Bama fan, and I am telling you this is terrible logic, and it's just stupid. I pray and I hope there's more to it than just that. Maybe he was summarizing. If Hunter Yurchek would have got there and said, well, Alabama controlled the game, it was never in doubt, they dominated Auburn from start to finish, that would make a little bit more sense, right? I'm not saying Alabama dominated Auburn. I'm just saying you're talking about the whole game at that point. But the point to, well, yeah, they did get a 4th and 2, and they forced that fumble, so that's enough for us. So because of 2 plays, that's why Alabama's jumping Notre Dame? It's head-scratching for me, man. Some of the things they do and the logic. There's just no logic. I don't even know why I'm bringing that word up. Here's where I'm going on with this. I think this is a much better argument for Alabama jumping Notre Dame, because I'm not mad at it. You could have stated something like this. Well, Alabama, they ran the ball well against Auburn. They had over 150 rushing yards. One of the best running performances the entire season. They also almost shut out Auburn in the first half, held to 6 points. You see, that sounds way better, at least in my humble opinion, because as a viewer, I'm like, oh, yeah, that is a good point. The defense has been good in the running game. It's coming alive. But no, instead of that, you point to, they did get that 4th and 2. Like, come on, man. And the fumble, I mean, yeah, give credit to Bray Hubbard and Alabama's defense for forcing it. But, you know how fumbles work, right? The other team, they have to make a mistake. They lost the ball. You know what was happening before that fumble? Auburn was driving down the field. They fumbled at, the 25 or 30-yard line? I can't harp on this and emphasize it enough. I'm not mad at it. I love it, and I'm glad Alabama is ahead of Notre Dame. Their reasoning for stuff, though, it doesn't make sense, and they got to get better at explaining it. You can't be the head of the committee pointing to, well, a fumble is why we boosted Alabama or any team over another team. No. You got to point to at least multiple quarters, just how the game went. Let me address this, too. Yurchek also stated that idle teams can move up or down, and all teams will be re-ranked following the weekend's championship game. What? What do you mean idle teams can move up or down? What are you talking about? Is he insinuating? Because I'm confused. I don't know if it means, like, for example, since Notre Dame and Miami aren't playing this week, we can flip-flop them if we want to. But to me, that doesn't make too much sense because they're not playing. What can you point to? Everything they've done up until this point should be set in stone, right? You know what this is looking like to me? They're setting all this up. They jumped Alabama ahead of Notre Dame, so when Alabama, or if Alabama loses to Georgia, they have an argument keeping Alabama in the playoffs. BYU's ranked 11. Texas Tech is going to beat them. So, for say this video, we'll say if or when Texas Tech beats BYU, guess what happens? Who's going to be right beside each other? Miami and Notre Dame. And you know what they're going to do? Since they are close enough to compare, they're going to use the head-to-head argument, and they're going to drop Notre Dame out of the playoffs. That is my way too early prediction on offense. By dropping Notre Dame behind Alabama, they are setting all this up. They know what they're doing. They're not dumb. They're smart. They're looking a week ahead of making this tournament. I'm not going to get into this whole Miami and Notre Dame thing. That's a different video for a different day, but I did address how dumb they can look inside last night. There's too much things I can say about it. They're right.
Well, this is some major professional clubs being super sign match on the streets. We have a it's coming out of Lewandowski. Somehow it's things that somehow literally can manage to make progress in this audience. It's one thing that has been well documented. I enjoy making progress in this audience. It is also worth documenting, like the algorithm. But they do not help themselves with their stupid financial needs. In the middle of the worst part, I think it's fair to acknowledge that they know it's some to the Irish. Let's see if it has managed to provide something later. They themselves in positions of manufacturing superstars and let's see honestly maybe more it's right it's kind of just as good as personally just decided to spend money despite the fact that they got millions of dollars, which is not announced as a ride on some the end of the 2022-2023 season. This is an interview I want to give credit to Sebastian Stachewski, who was the guy that wrote this biography about Lewandowski. He said that with 2 match days remaining in the league, with the team already secured the title for the 2022-2023 season, at that moment the striker was leading the race for the Golden Boot. He had 23 goals. But in the meeting, he heard a request he'd never imagined. Robert, we need you to stop scoring goals in the last 3 matches. Fucking funniest thing I could possibly imagine. Right? He's somebody that's a football manager obsessed, plays a shitload of football manager to the point that it's a problem. Right? You end up in situations all the time where you get a clause as part of a transfer. That's what's happening here. You put a clause in the transfer that says, hey, if this player scores this number, this player makes this number of appearances, then they pay you this amount. And that player is able to list that spark. Do I really need these last 4 matches in the off season and it doesn't matter? Right? That's one thing. That's as far as I'm comfortable going with this sort of stuff. Maybe if somebody has a goals thing, maybe you sit them out a couple of matches. But this, come to learn, is actually farther than that. Let me show you. See, I've searched up the last 2 matches of this season, right after this quote that has been published from the horse's mouth, Lewandowski. He played. He fucking started. That's match day 37. This is match day 38. He lost. So he started again. So these are 2 matches. Robert Lewandowski was a starting player. He was playing in the game. And they had sat him down and gone, what if they just didn't score? What if tomorrow you also don't score and go on it? But instead of just not playing, they did opposite. That's what they did. It's how you manage some sort of legal protection against this in real-life contracts. The shit football manager. What are they going to do? Sue me in the game, right? Legal simulator on Steam or something to figure out some writing some longer. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But it's something that I don't know if this was overly obvious, has no less than 2, 3, 4, 5. No less than 5 holes in their family. Like the immediate blast radius of their family. The whole point through just make sure that this is awesome, right? In the transfer to protect by in this case the team was so Lewandowski from obviously from right from like inspiring to from in this case it's actually I wouldn't be surprised if those actually just this quote. The rest of the story I'm talking about just an idea. They told him to accept that, hey, you should have to score. And these last 2 matches, I don't think the league would be understood that. Because all of a sudden you got a player that's been told by his club not to score for 2 matches who's on the fucking field playing. That is just not a world you typically want to be in, and Javier Tebas is not somebody that shies away, for better or worse, usually for worse, from this sort of grand showdown kind of, he's a confrontational guy. He's a very confrontational guy. I wouldn't be surprised if he took the bait here and decided to dig in on that as well. But they basically sat him down and said, hey, you need to stop scoring. As detailed in the biography, the reason behind the request was financial. Barcelona were obligated to pay Bayern a €2.5 million bonus if he scored 25 goals. To be honest, I would have thought the bonus was a lot bigger than that. A lot! I mean, €2.5 million. You're talking about a club in Barcelona that's dealing hundreds of millions of euros a year in, kind of turnover. But you're talking about a club that's spending hundreds of times that, it feels like. On Coutinho, more than 200 times that amount. Right? €2.5 million is a lot of money to you and me. Right? But when it comes to the balance sheet of a club like Barcelona, €2.5 million is a nosebleed. It's seized and an napkin thrown away. But this is even the craziest evidence of the level any pension got to. This is not even the only thing that this Robert Lewandowski documentary is accidentally ricocheted into. According to the book, Lewandowski was stunned. He played both matches but didn't find the net. What's interesting is that this and a tweet reporting on it from Sports both seem to have left out. And I don't speak Polish, so I'm not necessarily going to dive into the book. They both seem to have left out whether Lewandowski intentionally didn't score or whether he just happened to not score. I don't know the amount of pressure. That's what I can't seem to find. The amount of pressure that was applied. Now, he hung on to the Golden Boot win, so he won top goal scorer in the league. I wouldn't be surprised if there was another bonus tied to that maybe Barcelona was trying to stop. Doesn't mention anything about that here. It just mentions that he did manage to hang on to it. But I feel like that's an important piece of information. I would like to know that information. Did Robert Lewandowski actually try to score in those matches? I mean, one of those 2 matches they actually managed to go out and lose. How influential? Because I think anytime you see the script, Robert, we need you to stop scoring goals for the last 2 matches. Sometimes you can get a good reading, and sometimes you can get a bad reading. How serious was this meeting? Was it kind of hey, we kind of need you to stop scoring goals, it'd be kind of fun. It was an off-color joke from an administrator? Or was this a flanked by my 10 henchmen? Robert. Listen. Now, stop. Focus. Robert. And score. Understand? You score. Take away the thing you love most. TikTok. That's right. We have to TikTok, Robert. Something like that. Right? Was it really intense? Were they, saying, well, we got some levers in your contract that we can pull if you try to score in these matches? Or was it somewhere in between? I would imagine it was somewhere in between. But we don't know. And we don't know what Robert Lewandowski, whether he was actually trying to score in these matches. Of course, they'd already won the league, so they were dead rubbers. How much should you care about it in the first place? I don't really care about it too much. I just think it's wild that they're doing this in the first place, and then it comes out in a documentary about Lewandowski. The other story was the book recounts a moment during a team trip when Lewandowski noticed the extremely limited options of fish and meat on the menu. When he asked the chef why, the response was blunt. We have to save money. I mean, this is up there with Manchester United firing lunch ladies, right? But at least Manchester United firing lunch ladies makes more sense, right? Because you're trying to cut down on the overall staff size because you're realizing that if you're going to run the club the way that you want to run the club, you can't afford that large of a staff. Just times are changing, FFP is here, whatever. I feel like you're saving even less money by being like, yeah, all right, instead of we're having sirloin instead of filet today. It's kind of wild that it gets to the point that somebody like Robert Lewandowski, you would imagine, he's got private chefs all around him all the time. But this is Barcelona. This is Barcelona. This is one of the 3 or 4 biggest brand names in the world of football. Right? This is the home of Lionel Messi and Xavi and Iniesta. This is where Neymar and Luis Suarez had the peak of their careers. And I'm just talking about my generation of what I watched when I was a little kid. Right? They go back forever. Right, to the cavemen. They understood fire, they painted on cave walls, and they tuned their TVs in to watch the Classico, right? Like that was what they were doing back then. The Cro-Magnon period, or whatever the fuck it's called. Okay, this is Barcelona, and you're telling me that one of the players was like, shit, salad again? Like, you know, what? Come on, man. Private chef for like what? What's the traveling first team squad going to be? Coaches and all, 35, 40 people? I mean, seriously, that's like the base expense of running a club. The food that you're feeding them, that was just wild to me. I don't know. They pulled themselves out of the worst of it. It's just an insane window into that world that this was happening around that time. It's just insane.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got the updated college football playoff rankings last night. I would say the biggest move was Alabama being ranked in front of Notre Dame. They did that for a very specific reason. I'll talk about it in seconds, but this is just the look at what the playoff bracket would be. We're imagining Ohio State and Indiana will be getting byes no matter what happens in the Big Ten Championship. They're probably going to be ranked number 1 and number 3 after that game. Georgia, at this point, if they beat Alabama, they'll probably be ranked number 2. And then Texas Tech has a chance to stay at number 4 if they beat BYU. So likely these could be the top 4 teams all getting byes depending on what happens. Obviously, Georgia is only 2.5-point favorites over Alabama. So there's a lot of variance with Alabama. Alabama right now sitting at number 9. What I'll say is, I'll talk about that in a second, but you've got at number 5, Oregon. So they really value the overall analytics with Oregon and the FPI ranking to put them at number 5, above Ole Miss, above A&M, A&M falling all the way to number 7. That's tough if you have to face Notre Dame in round 1. Probably that's not what's going to happen, although we'll see, because the thing now is Alabama being number 9, that allows the committee wiggle room to where if BYU wins and Alabama loses, Bama is still in the playoff. If they ranked Alabama 10, which everybody was saying the 8v9 matchup was, the past few weeks, it's been Notre Dame versus Oklahoma, with Notre Dame being number 9, Alabama being number 10. If BYU wins and Alabama is 10, and let's say Alabama loses, Notre Dame is idle, they don't play this week, they would have to justify keeping Alabama ranked and actually leapfrogging Alabama above Notre Dame after an Alabama loss where Notre Dame doesn't play. Because at that point, Notre Dame would have to drop back from number 5. They'd be out. Bama would still be in, even after their loss to Georgia. And BYU would have to be in. And BYU would steal a spot. Because the committee knows that they're not going to, unless Alabama gets destroyed by 50 points, they're not going to really hurt Alabama for losing an extra game against a top 5 team. That's basically what this is, them playing in the SEC championship. So the justification is where, and then they say, oh, they were up 17-0. I mean, the explanation was ridiculous. It makes no sense. But they know because of how things could work out if BYU wins, it's not likely they're going to win, but if they win, and Alabama was ranked 10th, and Alabama loses by 7 points to Georgia, how can you justify leapfrogging Alabama over Notre Dame after Alabama just lost and Notre Dame was on a bye? So, see, that's why they did that. Now Notre Dame is in a spot to where if BYU wins, they are screwed. I mean, unless they are screwed. That's just the reality. So Notre Dame needs BYU to lose. I do think Notre Dame will. If BYU loses, I think Notre Dame makes the playoff as the 10th seed. You have to be the 10th seed because the 11 and 12. Well, you know what? I guess if Alabama loses, then Alabama goes back to the 10, and then Notre Dame goes back up to an 8v9 game. So that's another thing that happens. But it just comes down to Notre Dame, BYU. You also have Miami still arguing. I don't think it's going to happen. I know the committee said, well, we're going to reevaluate things. Maybe things will shift. I don't think, based off of the resumes basically already being completed, there's going to be a big change this next week. And the committee's going to say, well, now we need to rank Miami suddenly ahead of Notre Dame. We value head-to-head so much. but it's not even just head-to-head, it's contextualized the head-to-head. The head-to-head was in Week 1, it wasn't in Week 10. If Miami beat Notre Dame in Week 10, Miami would be in front of Notre Dame. Because that game was Week 1, because the teams have changed over the time, because Miami lost to SMU and Louisville. I mean, these are all factors that go into it, and that's part of the reason why Miami's out of it. And also, Notre Dame has been crushing everyone. But Notre Dame, they don't have a crazy good win. I agree with that. But still, if they're going to be ESPN, FBI number 3 or number 4, it's hard to justify that team being out of the playoff even without a crazy good win. So that's kind of the story there. And then the conference champ stuff, the auto bid this year, because of how bad the ACC is a complete mess. So if Virginia wins, they will be the 11th seed, pretty much guaranteed. And then, dependent on who wins between North Texas and Tulane, that's who's going to be the 12th seed. If Virginia loses, the 11th seed will likely be North Texas or Tulane, and the 12th seed would likely be James Madison. Now, if James Madison and Virginia both lose, the 12th seed is probably going to be Duke. And people are going to be pissed off. So that's just the reality of it. And honestly, you could argue that at that point Duke would be more dangerous than the American champion, but I don't think they would rank Duke above the American champion because they have 5 losses. But it's just the weird quirk of Duke losing all these non-conference games, but still tying the top 2 record in the ACC and getting on a crazy 14 tiebreaker. And so it's kind of how that worked out. But that's where we stand right now. That's all the different scenarios. BYU, they're winning in. If they lose, I think they're done. I mean, definitely there's going to be a lot of angry Big 12 fans if BYU loses by 7 points and they're knocked out of 11-2. People are going to be pissed off about that for sure, but that's where we're trending at this point. I don't really see a spot for BYU with another loss. What do you justify them over Notre Dame if the game is close? I mean, that's another thing. If you're a Notre Dame fan, you would really like Texas Tech to easily beat BYU. So there's no argument where BYU says, hey, wait a minute. We barely lost. We're sitting at 11-2. Notre Dame's 10-2. We played in the conference championship and almost beat the number 14 because Texas Tech would think they're probably going to get a bye. I think the way it's going to work, I mean, Alabama, you're looking at them possibly being a 10 seed or maybe a 4 seed. I don't know how high they would beat Bama, but you would have to figure if Bama beats Georgia, Bama's going to be in front of Georgia. They have the same record. Bama has beaten them twice. They beat them again. And then you have to, I mean, because they're SEC champions, they leapfrog, you would think, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, and obviously Georgia. Would they leapfrog Oregon? Would Oregon move up to number 4? I mean, because then you're looking at Bama at 11-2 possibly being the number 4th seed. And so if Bama loses, I think they're the 10th seed. If they win, they possibly could be the 4th seed, maybe the 5th seed. I mean, that'll be dependent on where they rank some of these other teams and how much they value an SEC championship versus a one-loss team that doesn't make their title game. So that's another thing to look at. But yeah, it's kind of a mess at this point, and that's how it's going to be every year with this playoff. You can see the playoff percent chance. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You've got 8 teams with 100%. You've got Alabama at a 96%. So Bama's going to make it. So that's 9 teams. You basically have 11 teams at this point that we know are going to make it. Because you've got the 2 auto bids after these 9 teams here. They say Notre Dame has about, a 58% chance. Yeah, well, Notre Dame's in spots where they need BYU to lose. And they have to fend off against Miami and those arguments. But, I mean, again, I don't really see them being able to justify jumping Miami over Notre Dame if the teams have already played all their games. I mean, there could be shifts with the conference championship games. The strength of schedule gets shifted a little bit, but it's not going to shift to any crazy degree that I think would justify pushing Miami in front of Notre Dame at this point. You've got Notre Dame, again, the number 3 team in terms of the FPI. You have Miami at number 7. Now, this is if you're a Miami fan, if there's one team that comes out of the ACC that should make this playoff, it should be Miami. So if you're a Miami fan, I agree. They're the best team. They're the best team out of the ACC overall. But they have the 2 losses in conference, so they didn't make their title game. They lost out on the tiebreaker. And I just wish there was a system to where they could put Miami in and disregard. But, I mean, it's kind of not fair to Virginia. But I mean, Virginia's FPI number 40, Miami's number 7. I mean, that is a crazy, crazy, crazy difference. You've got James Madison at number 28. I wonder where Duke is. Is Duke not even on here? See, I'm surprised they're saying Duke has a 0% chance to make the playoff because of the way the auto qualifiers work in the conferences. There is technically a way they can make it. And even Duke is at 46 in terms of FPI versus Virginia being at number 40.
guys that give it his.
But I mean, I don't think there's a high chance that they make it. It would require James Madison to lose. Right now, they have James Madison at a 50% chance to make the playoff. I think it's lower than that. Because for James Madison to make, well, all James Madison has to do is win and then hope Duke wins, and Duke's only a 2.5-point underdog, so maybe there is a chance. Because I think James Madison is like massive favorites. Against Troy, they're like 23-point favorites. Yeah, so they should definitely win that game. And that's basically what we're looking at. So it comes down to that last spot: Notre Dame, Miami, maybe BYU. If BYU wins, then they're going to be bumped up. If BYU loses, it'll be Notre Dame versus Miami. I think it's already been solved. I think they said we're going to take Notre Dame, and then Notre Dame might move up to the number 9 spot. I don't think Notre Dame is going to be hosting. I don't see any way. Because Notre Dame, again, they could move up to the number 9 spot if Bama loses. Bama would move from 9 to 10 if they'd have 3 losses. There could be a scenario where Bama loses by 3 points and Bama doesn't move down, but let's just say something happens to where Bama loses by 10. Bama moves down to the 10 seed. Notre Dame moves up to the 9, and then it's Oklahoma, Notre Dame in an 8v9 game. And by the way, that's something that you really have to look at as well, because you think about that. I mean, look at the discrepancy in terms of this. Oklahoma number 16 in terms of FPI, Notre Dame number 3. I mean, Notre Dame would go to Oklahoma probably as like 5-point road favorites in that game. So that's another interesting thing to look at there as well. But either way, this is just how it's setting up, guys. A little bit of an update. And if Duke wins, you could get both North Texas and James Madison into the playoff. And I think the top 10 teams, it's already done. It's just a matter of if BYU wins. If BYU wins, they replace Notre Dame. If BYU loses, Notre Dame stays. I don't think Miami, right now it says Miami has an 11% chance. I think Miami's pretty much done. And that's really the one question mark spot. And it comes down to BYU versus Notre Dame if BYU wins. And then you also have the potential nuance of an argument if BYU loses by 3 points. Then there's going to be a lot of Big 12 fans that clamor for BYU over Notre Dame and to jump Notre Dame, which I don't know how you can justify it coming off a loss, but they would definitely argue that if Texas Tech wins by 20 points, obviously there's no argument, which I think that's what's going to happen. I think Texas Tech's going to win the cover, but I'm just saying there is that potential for an argument if BYU keeps it close against Texas Tech. And so, I mean, if you're like the thing is, Texas A&M, that was a tough ranking for them at number 7. Because in this bracket especially, if you can be number 5 or number 6, you're going to be huge favorites in the first round. Because you're facing the ACC team and you're facing the Group of 5 team. So if you're 5 or 6, you got to be feeling really good. Like you look at Oregon, you're possibly facing North Texas, you're possibly facing Tulane, maybe Duke if things go crazy. Ole Miss is possibly facing Virginia. That's who they would probably play. Virginia Tech, obviously. So, you really want to be a 5 or a 6. That's a tough situation, right? And in this scenario where they have to face Notre Dame. And by the way, if Alabama wins, that could potentially be the matchup because obviously Bama would want to drop back. Notre Dame would stay at 10 if Bama wins against Georgia, and it might end up being Notre Dame versus A&M in a 7v10 game. Then they probably, you have what you do with Georgia. Do you really want to punish Georgia too much for losing in the SEC championship? Probably not. I'm guessing Georgia would only drop back to like 5 or 6. So there is that as well. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you like the video down below. Thank you for watching.
Nothing says welcome to the modern era of college football. But close a deal. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hope all of you have a great Wednesday. Hope all of you have a great week. If not, video to make it a little bit better. Man, I hope everybody brings some drama in college football talking because we got plenty of it. And we're going to have plenty of it throughout the remainder of the day. We're uploading apparently about 3 to 4 videos. So down on the lookout for that. There's so much going on, and I'm trying my absolute best to cover it all, but it seems like every single time I want to cover one topic, another thing pops up. I love it. I really do. It's that time of the year where it feels like we have an endless amount of content. Let me throw this in there before we go any farther, before I forget, because everybody and mom has been asking me, Matt, when's the preview for Alabama, Georgia? Part 2, when's the preview for Indiana, Ohio State? I plan on doing it today, which is Wednesday. But with all the news going on and all the stories we got to cover, it is more likely going to get pushed back until Thursday, which is tomorrow. I may be able to post one of those tonight, but the way it's looking, not going to happen. And I am so excited to get fiction videos. You have no idea. Hold on. I've been doing all this jibber-jabbering, and I haven't even told you guys what we're going to be discussing in this video. My apologies. Our main topic is this right here. Shaking my head. I didn't think it could get worse, but it has gotten worse for the Penn State Nittany Lions. Topic number 2 is this right here. Breaking news just came out early this morning that Ohio State's offensive coordinator, he's leaving. I normally don't cover offensive coordinators leaving on this channel. Why is that? Because it's not a big deal. But this one is, because he's one of the best at what he does. We are on the push for 400,000 subscribers, so if you're not subscribed to the channel and you'd like to be a part of our college football community, which is amazing, by the way, shout out to everybody that did subscribe, we greatly appreciate it, and it helps us get a little bit closer to our goal. Speaking of community, guess what your boy Matt did this morning? I set up the community tab on our YouTube channel. Yes, that's right, you heard me correctly. We have our own YouTube community tab where you guys, yes, I'm talking to you, Timothy and Bobby, you can post on it. Why did I do this? Very simple reason for this comment right here. And I asked you guys in yesterday's videos, or one of the videos, if you wanted to see us have a community tab, and everybody said yes, so here we are. As y'all know, I'm a fan of the people, and I want to get the people what they want. It's as simple as that. I heard all of you. You said, Matt, make a community tab. I went to work, did some things, bada boom, bada bing. Next thing you know, here we are. It's official. It's here. Last thing I'll say before we get into the video, and trust me, I know I'm ready to get into it as well, but just got to explain some things going on with the channel and whatnot. This is a new feature YouTube has implemented, I think, just 1 month ago. It'll probably be fun, and if you're wanting to know how to access this, all you got to do is click on the channel name, and it should say Visit Community. It should be there in big letters. I do apologize. This has been an extremely long-winded intro. We're not even talking about college football. So without further ado, Matt, would you just shut the crap up and talk about some ball? Great idea, Matt. Let's get into it. All right, first things first, big breaking news. That's when I made this video. I mean, it just came out. USF is expected to hire Ohio State offensive coordinator Brian Hartline. Per Bretman Murphy, Pete Nakos, and CeeLo are 3 most reliable sources on the channel. Shout out to them. What's ironic about this is it goes hand in hand with Penn State, with what we're about to get into in just a second, a little foreshadowing. But as far as it goes for this hire, it's a little confusing to me. And I don't mean this in a disrespectful way to South Florida or anything like that, but I feel like Brian Hartline could have got a better job. Am I the only one that's under that perception? I even thought the Kentucky job was too whack of a job for him. I thought he could do way better than that, too. And look, Brad and Chad, I get it. It's a big jump from being the offensive coordinator, even as the big bro Ohio State going to Kentucky, USF as a head coach. But still, I mean, he's one of the best in the game. Heck of a recruiter, and everything I've seen about him up until this point, I have no reason to believe he's not going to be successful, and it's not going to work out at USF. Heck, you could argue and say it may be better than when they had Golich there. Am I jumping the gun a little too early here? Maybe I am, but I'm just a big Brian Hartline fan. I just don't think your casual fan understands how good Brian Hartline is at his job, or was at his job at Ohio State. Everybody now knows him, and you see him in this graphic here listed as offensive coordinator. No. I know Brian Hartline as the wide receivers coach at Ohio State. Why is that important? Why is that relevant? Because for years, who has had some of the best wide receivers in college football? You know who? Ohio State. And there is 2 sides of it, because what's the rebuttal going to be in the comment section from all the Timothys and Bobbies? Whoa, Matt. That's not because Brian Hartline's a good wide receivers coach. That's because they're getting 4- and 5-star recruits, so it's easy to coach 4- and 5-star recruits. Dude, calm down. I get it. Yes, you're right, but I think 2 things can be true. 1, Ohio State gets some of the best wide receiver recruits in the nation. 2, Brian Hartline is exceptional. He's not good. He's not great. He's exceptional at developing them. It's not even like they've had 1 good or great wide receiver every year. They got 2 to 3 on every single team, every single year. It's unreal. And now you're sending this, what I'm going to label as offensive-minded guy to South Florida. GG for everyone around there. Why is that important? Why is that relevant? Well, you know where all the 4- and 5-star recruits are, right? You know where they're located? Majority of them in Florida. Am I sitting up here saying he's going to out-recruit, first of all, Florida, which would be John Sumrall now, all the big-time schools in Florida, you know, who's the other one? Oh, yeah, the Seminoles? Absolutely not. What I am saying is I think he may steal a recruit here or there. He goes up to one of those wide receivers. It's an easy selling pitch. Think about it. All he's got to do in a 4-star recruit's living room or even a 5-star recruit's living room is show him a picture of all the Ohio State wide receivers and say, hey, you see that? Yeah, I did that. He's got proven track history of developing wide receivers and getting them to the NFL. It's not even like, oh, they've been decent in college and they have a decent career in the league. No, they've been studs in the league. What's funny about this, and it just goes hand in hand, you can't make it up, is I'm scrolling through the comment section and you got people bringing up Penn State in this post, and it's exactly what we're about to get into. I guess that's a good stopping point. We'll get into our Penn State news, our main topic. Let me say this because I didn't grade the hire. I've been grading all these hires for all these teams. I'd say scale 1 to 10. This is a 9 for USF. It's a 9. I mean, yeah, I just don't know how you can do too much better than this. This isn't even a Power 4 school, and you got, in my humble opinion, one of the best candidates out there. That's a 9 for the Bulls, man, a 9 for the Bulls. Moving along here to the main topic of the main encore, main reason you might have clicked onto this video. What in the world is going on with the Penn State Nittany Lions? That's a great question, my friend. We're about to get into it. Whew. It's been a long journey, a long journey, and this had to be such a rough time being a Penn State fan, especially the past week or so. Just seeing all these teams out there get their new head coaches and celebrate. You had the Lane Kiffin incident going on. You had the John Sumrall, the goalish at Auburn. Who else has accepted a new job? Who else? You got Hartline going to USF. You got, was it Matt Steen from Oregon? He's going to Kentucky. Everybody's getting a new head coach, but your former head coach, James Franklin, goes to Virginia Tech, and I'm sure there's some others I'm missing. And outside of coaches taking a new job, some of the guys that were on your radar, like a Sonetti, signing an extension. Matt Rule, I believe, didn't he sign an extension? But that's not good news for Nebraska. And then you had, Eli Drinkowitz from Missouri. He signed an extension. In other terms, meaning you're not getting any of those guys either. In other terms, to dumb this down if you don't know what I'm saying, it's been looking really, and I mean really bleak, for the Nittany Lions. There's not even a beacon of hope at this point. I don't even know who you turn to. There was what I was thinking up until yesterday, the news and reports were coming out, that Sataki, yes, the head coach at BYU, the BYU East him, he emerged as a front runner for the job, and Penn State was going to be targeting him. Or my apologies, that report, it came out 2 days ago, and you're looking at it right here. I remember talking about that, and what did I say in that video? I have a hard time believing that Kalani Sataki is going to be leaving the BYU. You probably know where I'm going with this. Kalani Sataki was the only glimmer of hope. He is who Penn State was banking on, and he just told them no. I know, right? I know over Penn State what's new, but here's what's really interesting. Crumble Cookies is the main reason Sataki is staying at BYU. Let me say it one more time. No, your ears didn't deceive you. Crumble Cookies. You can't make this up. So for Matt Luckhead. So for those of you who don't know, Crumble's Cookies. I can't believe this is real. Crumble Cookies CEO loves BYU football. How much does he love it? That's a great question, my friend. Earlier this season, he paid BYU's $50,000 field storming fine. And when Crumble's CEO caught wind of Penn State coaching their new head coach, he tweeted this out. Some people are not replaceable. Sounds like it is time for me to get off the sidelines and get to work. You can't make this stuff up. And I'm not going to hold you. If I was the Penn State boosters and I saw the Crumble Cookie CEO tweet this out after already paying this BYU football program so much and donating so much, my jaw would have dropped to the floor. Because you don't got to be a rocket scientist to figure out what was about to happen next. I don't know how much this guy's worth, but I'd assume it's got to be close to $1 billion, isn't it? Well, he tweeted this out right after the original tweet I showed you. Who do you love, Kalani? What does it mean to you to have Kalani Sataki as our head coach at BYU? Right now is the moment to let Kalani feel the love, respect, and gratitude of Cougar Nation. He has given everything to this program. Let's show him how much he means to all of us. Make it fun. I'm giving away 4 50-yard line seats and airfare to the Big 12 championship game for 2 incredible responses. Nothing says welcome to the modern era of college football in 2025 more than the CEO of Crumble Cookies being brought in to close a deal with BYU's head coach and outbid Penn State. If this doesn't bring a smile to your face, I don't know what will. And this is the good side to NIL and having all these rich alumni and boosters, because it creates parity. Or now a school like BYU can retain their head coach. I know they're like a multi-billion-dollar company, but think about it. A cookie shop outbid Penn State. That is the best thing I've seen in quite some time. Walking in here, though, on a serious note, Penn State still doesn't have a head coach, and it doesn't look like they're getting one anytime soon. I don't even know who they go after. I don't know, man. I don't know. But here's what I do know. I'll keep you guys updated. Let me know your thoughts down below. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hope I'll be having a great Wednesday. Hope I'll be having a great week. If not, hope this video can make it a little bit better. And man, oh man, we got some wild, and I mean wild stuff to talk about and get into. And guess who it involves? The Nerds, in Vanderbilt, the Georgia Bulldogs, one of the best programs in college football the last 5, 6, 7 years, and a 5-star quarterback. I'm sure a bunch of you by this point in time know this five-star quarterback recruit. We've talked about him on the channel before. He goes by the name of Jared Curtis. Y'all remember us talking about him roughly a month ago, right? Where he was committed to Georgia, but he took a visit to Vanderbilt when College Game Day was in. And everybody and their mama, including me, thought, oh yeah, he's just getting a free vacation, a free trip, whatever you want to call it, and he wants to experience the College Game Day atmosphere at Vanderbilt. Nothing too wrong with that. And he's from the state of Tennessee. But come to find out, there was way more substance to that than we thought. But here's where things got hectic. Yesterday, reports and rumors were coming out by social media outlets like On3 stating that he's flipping his commitment, but then he came out and stated, no, that's not true. So what's going on with Mr. Jared Curtis? We're here to talk about all that, and we also got some news to talk about involving guess who? Vanderbilt again, but this time being their quarterback, Diego Pavia. Pavia's found his way into the news, and no, we're not here to talk about the Heisman Trophy race. Although we probably need to make a separate video talking about that, because Pavia, he's going up in my rankings, and I think he should be invited to New York. We got a lot of stuff going on in the college football world, so I need to hurry up, record, edit this video, and get it uploaded, because it's National Signing Day, for those of you who don't know. I'm 99% sure there's chaos ongoing as to when I'm speaking and making this video in the recruiting world. As most of you know, we're on the push for 400,000 subscribers. Act like I gave you some corny and inspirational speech on why you should subscribe to the channel and help us get a little bit closer to our goal of 400K. Due to high demand, we have also created a community tab on the channel. All you gotta do is click on the channel and boom, it should be right there, and it should say something like, visit the community. That is a safe place where you guys can talk football, crack jokes, or just do whatever you want to do. I think that's everything I needed to touch on, maybe forgetting something, but let's get into this Pavia stuff first. So where were we at here? I thought I had it saved. I have so many things to say. Anytime you hear me saying that, I'm just scrolling through trying to find it. Where are you at, Pavia? I know you're here somewhere. Oh, got it right here. This is from On3, and this is what Pavia had to say. Responding to the rankings that came out last night. For those of you who didn't see Vanderbilt, they didn't move. They're ranked 14th, and they have what I'm going to label as a 0% shot at making this playoff. But come on. I told y'all that heading into the rankings, they're not making it. I wish they could. I wish Vanderbilt, Texas, Miami, and BYU could all get in. This is one of those years where we need more teams in. Last year, I felt like 12 was way too much, and it had me thinking, man, maybe we did have too many teams. But this year, I'm looking at it going, dang, we need a 16-team playoff. But obviously, you can't just change it mid-season. But don't tell Diego Pavia that, because here's what he said. I'm just going to read this off word for word. Vandy quarterback Diego Pavia is calling for President Donald Trump to sign. Yeah, I'm just shaking my head. This is laughable. To sign an executive order to expand the college football playoff to 16 teams, quote unquote. And he added Donald Trump, I guess, in a tweet. Make the executive order, please. Just act like I inserted the meme where it's Coach Brown grabbing Travis Hunter's shoulder, or the other meme where you're just grabbing someone's shoulder. Do y'all want to tell him, or do you want me to? Shaking my head, shaking my head. It's not happening, buddy, not happening. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, Pavia, but you need to come to terms with reality. You're not getting in. I hate it for you, but have fun in the Cinnamon Toast Crunch Club. I want to root for Vanderbilt because they're the Cinderella team and Cinderella program at that. But this makes it hard for me to see stuff like this. If somebody wants to enlighten or inform him, that's not how things work. I can't even get myself to speak on this for longer than what we have up to this point, because it's not even anything to debate about. I mean, this isn't going to happen. I don't know how to dumb it down anymore. It's not even a logical
Oh man, I was muted. I didn't even know I was muted. Okay, no. 1.3 at the end. Basically the same.
With the roles in reverse, look at the Rio part. They struggled just like Australia. So that means my
Where's
dream
Belgium?
group for Curacao was Belgium, Australia,
Oh, they thought they were in the relegation battle.
It's not unthinkable.
Guess I could injuries.
And lastly,
Oh,
Asians with depth. Pot ones. I couldn't really think of like a strong case for any nations in particular, but I went with Argentina as the depth pot one.
we really need to get some points, bro. Like, no way we're behind West Ham.
Argentina
That West Ham loss in the beginning of the year is really gonna hurt us. I don't know why I tried that new tactic in that game.
How Migné likes to play with his line.
I'm still regretting it.
Pretty high. I just think Argentina.
Are you a game?
Messi, you can't play that way with Messi, Simeone, Julian Alvarez. You cannot. Even Nico Gonzalez, yes, he might be kind of fraudulent at times, but he's still
Oh
pace.
my god.
Too much to be expected
Yo.
by Argentina pacing. I think.
Oh man.
I can see the Argentina.
I really had to watch this team lose the other day. Now we're gonna lose. We better not lose today.
Struggle a lot. In the pot two, the Colombia, CONCACAF killers. I must not go Croatia. He left to be a South National for Haiti. In the pot three, boring, yes, Norway, or other teams against so South Africa. I think South Africa out guns blazing against Haiti. I think.
Oh my god, I think I heard too, bro.
3-2, something like that. One of the games in the World Cup, I think, was Haiti versus South Africa. But I think the South Africans have much more experience going up against tougher national teams. There's a reason they won the group, even with the points deduction. Nigeria couldn't beat them twice. They were a very good side. I don't even know the last time they lost. On penalties, again, AFCON's going to change everything from South to South.
Oh my god.
Beast of a matchup.
James
Doesn't really practically adjust that much. I think he will get it done.
Nah,
Against South
I
Africa.
was good
I
for
don't know if pressure South Africa would be applied. I think it should be everybody's low stage. So my group of death for Haiti would be Argentina, Morocco, Norway, Haiti, or Spain, Morocco, South Africa, Haiti, or Spain, Croatia, South Africa, Haiti. Yeah, or I guess Spain, Colombia, Norway, Haiti. Boy, all those are pretty tough. And lastly, group of life for the Haitians. Belgium again, because I think that Haiti have so much attacking talent. The Seeds has crazy games since the last World Cup.
Okay.
He is out of his skin.
I'm gonna pass it for Joe.
In the pop
Picture the winger.
I'm thinking Austin is actually
the middle.
more so than
Oh my god. Why did you go top right? You could have gone. You could have shot it to the left. Would have been. I wouldn't say goal, but it was.
Maybe they could get a point, but Uruguay would still be getting favorites, in my opinion. I actually think Austria, because they're a decent defensive team, but not particularly great, and they haven't really beaten anyone of note since the last Nations League. It's been a while, so you got to play a European team, which they do. Why not Austria on pot two? And in pot three, I'm going to say Saudi Arabia too. They play very well.
Yo, pin. Might not be penalty, but it looked close. Oh my god. Nah, VAR. Yes, sir. Come on, Palmer.
Beating my group of life 4-8. This is hilarious. Belgium, Austria, Qatar, 8. I got 2 European teams.
Come on, Palmer. Oh my god. You gotta be kidding.
South Korea wouldn't do that. I don't know why, but like my spider sense is telling me if I have to pick an Asian side here, I think it would be South Africa. I'm not going to say Australia.
Like, we're in good form. Like,
Therefore, I don't really think it's a top matchup. But South Korea, they really like kind of corner sides, more possession sides to play against. Maybe take advantage of it. So I guess if I don't want to have two European sides in the league, like maybe I can also go Belgium, South Korea. I gotta change my mind. So I guess it would be Belgium, South Korea. This is tough. I don't know. Ivory Coast?
Bro, I've been struggling with leads, bro.
Something like that. Patience, let me know your group of life down below in the comments. That is the video, guys. I hope you enjoy it. It is now 11 o'clock. I'm going to edit this as fast as I possibly can and then go to bed. I will upload my official World Cup draw in a couple days. Hit subscribe for that. And I'm going to be doing comprehensive group previews as well. So rest assured, no matter where you're from, Haiti, Panama, USA, plenty more videos coming your direction on the channel very soon. Okay? I appreciate you guys for watching. Smash the like button if you enjoyed, and I'll catch you on.
Perkins tweeted the same tweet from Lane Kiffin and said, that was not the message you said in the meeting. Everybody that was in there vouched on this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how about you have a great Wednesday night?
Holy shit, we are ass.
All this like Kiffin news and drama going on. It was starting.
I need Enzo to come back.
Down. This happens. What is this I'm referring to? That's a great question, Timothy and Bobby. I would love to answer it.
Oh my god.
Now, some people would say
We're going ultra attacking. We got nothing else in these now. We're already losing.
This one time, and this is just the way Kiffin is, just the vibes he gives off to me. I don't even think he cares. What I'm about to say next is not any brand new information or not.
Nah, but if we were up, it would have got like +6.
Players amount. I think he's going to hold that against him, and he's going to have a chip on his shoulder. We're going to talk about that, but we also got to talk about Ole Miss.
But how do we lose? Like, we just drew with PSG. We were down like 2-0.
Well, I say rehired. Technically, he didn't take another job, but wow, this is so weird.
We just beat Arsenal like 4-1, I think, like 4-1, 3-1. This shit don't make no sense, bro.
If you leave, you can't coach in the playoffs. But now they're letting.
Now we just made a bigger gap for 4, 5, and 6 to catch up. This is like the most odd.
Come to find out, it's looking like it has a little bit to do with the playoffs, as much as you know, or you should know. We're not living under a rock. We're on the push. We're on the grind for 400,000 subscribers before the new year. We're getting closer by the day. I update the count for you guys in every single video. So if you're new to the channel, or maybe if you've been watching, you're not subscribed, I'm telling you, there's a bunch of you watching. You said we're not subscribed. Consider subscribing. It's 100% free. It doesn't hurt you, and it benefits the entire community. It's a win.
Is that Madrid?
Now let's get a little bit closer, but don't be a Grinch
during the holiday season.
Check out the community tab real quick.
Bro, they give us a group of death in the Champions League, bro.
You guys can interact with me, and you can talk amongst yourself about football or whatever you want to. But I'll read a couple of comments. First one I see, hey Marge, will you coach Penn State? Well, why is that your username? Matt Yellow T. So now I got Yellow T. All right, buddy, is that what we're doing? Seriously, is that what we're doing? Miguel said, love the community. This is where I get my college football info at. Well, appreciate that, man. Thanks for being a part of it. You see, that's why I like to see a nice wait. What is this? Yo. So this is just not me. This picture just never happened. What is this? How did you even make this? Is this the White Randy picture? And who is this standing next to me? All right, bro. So now I'm proved from Despicable Me. Get out of here. No, you know what? No, we're done. We're getting to the video, straight to it. So this takes place actually a few days ago. Before we get into the whole offensive coordinator stuff, let's talk about these players calling out, dissing, throwing some shade at Kiffin, whatever you want to call it.
We need some
Caleb
points, bro.
Odom. This was right after, what's his name? Why am I drawing a blank? Oh, yeah. Lane Kiffin announced that he's leaving Ole Miss. He's going to LSU. He stated that Kiffin, he didn't address the team. He didn't say goodbye, all that stuff, and he left. Me personally, does that rub me the wrong way? Not so much, because I talked about it with Kalen DeFord. You had Washington players tweeting out, well, Kalen DeFord, he didn't say goodbye to it. He just up and left. Same thing with Kiffin. This is my perspective on it. These coaches, they're going to top coach. They got to let the AD know, hey, I'm leaving now. Once they leave, the school doesn't want anything to do with it. So they just tell them to get out of here ASAP. Okay, I may have exaggerated that a little bit. They're nice about it, but you get the point. It's not like Kiffin was hanging around for 2 to 3 weeks and he didn't say goodbye to the team. It was like, okay, I'm leaving, and he's gone. And it's a business decision. I don't think it's anything personal. But more of the story is, no matter how you feel about it, Caleb Odom, he called him the former transfer from Alabama. Why all that's ironic is because Caleb Odom, he left Alabama, and I can assure you, when he entered the transfer portal, he didn't tell Kalen DeBoer goodbye. He didn't tell his teammates goodbye. But I think. Well, now guess what happened? You had not one, but multiple players come out within the last 24 hours. What tweet Lane Kiffin's goodbye tweet is they stuff like this. This is from Bryson Sanders, current Ole Miss player, offensive lineman to this musical contest. He quoted it stating, "Despite the team asking me to keep coaching," he responded, "I think everyone that was in that room would disagree." Sanders, what are you trying to say? Because to me it looks like you were insinuating that the team did not ask Lane Kiffin to keep coaching the team throughout the play.
What's going on? Oh, penalty! Oh my God, ref!
Jaden Williams,
What are we doing out there, ref?
every single person.
Holy shit!
Like Kevin said, that was not the message you said in the meeting room. Everybody that was in there can vouch on this. This
Okay, Santos.
The past day or so, it's got over. Wow, this one has 8 million views. That is a ton of views on college football posts on Twitter. You don't got to be the sharpest tool in the shed to figure out. They are stating that Lane Kiffin, he's lying in this message you're looking at right here.
Come on, James, pass it right there. Pass it, Stavio. Yeah, pass middle. Oh my God, Garancho, what the fuck are you doing?
As much as I love Lane Kiffin,
I don't know what I'm talking about. He got blind.
By the year, I wouldn't put it past him to lie in a Twitter post. Would you? Let me know in the comment section. It's Lane Kiffin. Nobody cares about their public image more in the college football coaching industry than, guess who? Lane Kiffin. I mean, it's with all due respect. You know what he acts like? A high school girl. He loves attention. He craves it. He can't get enough of it. And he is always going to try to make himself look great in any and every situation, even if he is the bad guy. And that's why I really don't like calling him a villain, because he's a phony villain. He don't actually like being hated. He just acts like it, if that makes sense. Real villains enjoy that hate. They relish.
Boy, that's a fucking goal, bro. Oh my.
At the same time,
you just saved us some points.
He's an interesting cat when you break it down, but we already know this. Getting back to the focal point, yeah, you got multiple players calling him out saying, "Nah, that's not the message you said in the meeting room," and no, we didn't really care for you to stay and be the head coach. Like they say, there's two sides to every story. If I give my best educated guess, it's just purely a guess. Who do I think is in the right here? Who do I believe? It's definitely got to be the player. Everything's got a little wishy-washy because these players, they haven't said anything past the messages that I've showed you up to this point. They haven't actually said what really went down. And I'm not even going to try to sit up here and try to speculate what went down in that locker room, because that's not what I do. I like to present y'all with facts, information, and then give my 2 cents on it. Well, this is all we got. Here's the last thing I'm going to say about this, and we'll get it moving. Kiffin isn't historically known for being, quote-unquote, good at, ironically enough, goodbye.
Oh.
Better job down there. No disrespect on this.
Palmer, bro.
So if he were to leave to take, in this case, an example, an LSU job or the Bama job, that's the job he really wants. Whenever he did leave, it wasn't going to be pretty. Do you remember what happened in Tennessee? He's just bad at these things. An ace is an ace, a spade is a spade. Let's talk for what it is. And I'm not shocked about any of this information coming out. But here's what did shock me, and it threw me for a loop. So the president came out yesterday and was like, wait.
Who shot that shit?
Hold on.
Nah, that better not been Nacho, bro.
What? I had to do a double take. You ever see someone on your phone just going and look away? Then you're like, wait a minute, what did I just look at? I did the same thing here. I'm going to read this off word for word so there's not any confusion. And I'll go over it a couple times because it can be confusing. Breaking. Charlie Wise is returning to Ole Miss as offensive coordinator to coach the playoffs, as we'll announce. Wise boarded up flying to Baton Rouge with Lane Kiffin on Sunday. Read it and I'll leave it up on the screen so you can continue to read it. The guy who flew on the plane with Kiffin back from Louisiana for the press conference is being brought back to Ole Miss to coach in the playoffs. Yeah, you were keeping up with this situation as close as we're on the channel, you would know how strange this is, because Ole Miss was very adamant on, no, Kiffin, if you leave our program, you cannot just accept the job at LSU and coach the remainder of the year at Ole Miss. You can't do that. That ain't going to fly. Do I blame Ole Miss for doing that? Absolutely not. For obvious reasons, we've already talked about that plenty enough. You got a lot of people saying stuff like this. Fair argument. So Lane Kiffin could not coach the team in the playoffs because he took another job, but the offensive coordinator followed him and took the LSU job, but he can go back and coach the offense in the playoffs? Laughable. I got over 1,000 likes. I get why some people may be upset about this, but I understand it from Ole Miss's perspective. It's not that Lane Kiffin left, it's how he left. How he went about all this. I said this before, I'm going to say it again. You also don't want a head coach that is now going to be coaching a rival in the same conference as you, sticking around as a head coach for signing day and poaching recruits that are supposed to be coming to Ole Miss to go to LSU, because that's what would be happening. I try my best to dumb these situations down. I can't think of another way to dumb it down more than what I have up to this point. It just wouldn't make any sense to have Wayne Kiffin, the new head coach at LSU, remain as the
Holy shit. What a fucking header.
Has to say about all of it, so the playoff committee released it.
Oh, what
I
the?
ordered it to be known that after conversation with OSU, you are allowing Charlie to return Ole Miss to coach the team during the playoffs. I've already made the committee aware of this, and I'm hopeful this decision will allow Ole Miss to receive the highest ranking possible, because these great players are very deserving of that. I'm excited that Charlie will be back to help coach the greatest team in the history of Ole Miss. There you have it, very mature words from the lane-trained Kiffinator himself. Let me know, what do y'all think about that? Low-key, a classic move by the Kiffinator, because Kiffin easily could have been pissed off about how they wouldn't let him be the head coach and said, nah, guess what? I'm taking my offensive coordinator with me, and he's not going to help you in the playoffs. He could have done that, and I wouldn't have blamed the guy. But as bad as this thing ended at Ole Miss, he does have a soft spot. I'm not going to say for Ole Miss, but for this team. So good on Kiffin. As far as it goes for Ole Miss in the playoffs, I don't want to say it's not looking good for you. I think it's going to be A-okay. You do got Pete Golden on the show. That's a different video for a different day. Don't get me started on you. Not a Pete Golden fan. I was beyond when he left Alabama. I was like, please take him. And what's so crazy is Ole Miss fans like, oh, we stole him from you. Sure, I guess, but he was awful in Alabama. Not a Pete Golden fan. I don't know what people see in him. He's just bad at his job. He's not a good defensive coordinator. I tell you what, I don't know who they're going to play, but everybody in their mom is going to be tuning into the Ole Miss football game. And I can't speak for you, but I'm definitely rooting for them. It's like they're an underdog. Any more things I can say one off the year? I'm curious to know your thoughts on stuff. But down it.
Oh
They
my
sent them
god.
home, y'all. They sent them home out of nowhere. This is weird, man. This is weird because this is the first big piece of NBA news that I wasn't awake for. I was awake when Kawhi got traded there. I was awake for the Luke Doncic thing pretty much every other time. But this is one time I was asleep, man. I feel like Will Chatterley. I just never really sleep. And then the one time we got news about my goal, I was there. So imagine my surprise when I wake up. You know, I don't do this in second home. I got even flashbang of so many different notifications like, ooh, you're not going to feel good.
Oh
and I go,
no.
because I may have seen the last game of my GOAT's career. This is crazy. Now, it's been a few hours. I was patiently waiting for more information and finally got it.
Oh, we get it with the comments. It's over. It's over with.
Obviously, still tapped in with the organization after playing there for so many years. I got this at 1.5 speed because you was taking this time. But let's listen to what we have to say.
Yeah, but just talking to a few different people over there and just trying to understand what transpired in the early morning hours of this team being in Atlanta. But from what I've gathered, that brought him in to this abruptly was there was a few scenarios, and we CP was holding people accountable from players to staff, from coaching staff up to the front office, and from what I understand, there was a situation where he even addressed the team and apologized and said, "Look, my criticisms are coming from a good place. I want us to be a good team. I want us to get this thing right." And he was just holding guys accountable. Now, how some of that talk was taken or interpreted for the players and the coaches and how they felt about it.
We'll leave it at that. But we understand that the guys sent home, the principal was focused and critical of the team. They're bad right now. I made a video just a week ago saying, hey, they're bad, but don't worry. They'll right the ship at least a little bit. Don't worry. Okay, Steve Ballmer have a top 10. Okay, done enough for you, Sissy. Shout out to Roman Powell, who's pleased that they've done nothing else but lose. So Lou Will said this. And I respect the Lou Will. He's obviously tapped into the organization and all that. The information so I waited minutes ago.
How do we do back to back?
Both of the voting management coaches and players accountable, which the team felt became disruptive. Specifically, Tyronn Lue, who was not on speaking terms with home for a few weeks. This is so insane. My wife used to say before, this is like my full-time job, that the NBA is like, I don't know, reality TV for people that used to play sports. This is a prime example of something like this. The head coach not being on speaking terms with one of his players is nuts. Obviously, Chris Paul has not been good this season. He's year 40. But I don't think many people expect him to be good. I don't think people expect him to be this bad. We're shooting like 30% from field, 20% from 30. It's really, really bad right now.
I think the thing that bothers me the most about this, and I'm trying to look at this from a level-headed perspective and not just try to immediately side with my GOAT because he is my GOAT, is that you knew who Chris Paul was as a guy. He has always been a dude that has been abrasive, maybe that's the wrong word. Been somebody that has been, I don't know, pretty stern with the way he's carried himself in the NBA. Former players or former teammates will tell you sometimes they didn't like JJ Redick and him on the same team, and JJ says we didn't like each other. Like, people have known this has been Chris Paul's style, so much so that even now, with him being one of the greatest point guards of all time, he's going through what should be somewhat of a farewell tour as he officially announced this is his last season, and people don't care because coaches, players, and even NBA fans have grown to dislike him because of some of his home court antics. But the Clippers know this. He's the best player in franchise history. It is like, I'm assuming what he's doing right now, his leadership style, the way he's talking to the team, the way he's talking to coaches, is nothing new. He didn't just wake up at the age of 40 and say, I'm going to turn to a whole different dude. He's always been this way. So you knew that when you signed him. There's been a lot of conversation about the Clippers, obviously, over the offseason with the aspirations and Kawhi Leonard and so on and so forth. And the one place the Clippers had held their hat as far as getting the fans excited and trying to steer away from those stories, like, hey, our GOAT is back. Their whole offseason marketing was about the old man Chris Paul being back in the old threat. That guy ain't got a jersey. I was this close. To buying a new jersey, and I didn't. So the whole market, even yesterday, 3 days ago, hold on, let me pull it up. The community noted it. Just a few days ago, most of all, you know, I'm in a Clippers uniform. CB3 will end his Hall of Fame career at home. I should be laughing, but it's like, I don't know any other way to react to it. The Clippers announced that Chris Paul is no longer part of the team. So just a couple days ago, every